Have you been trying to get better, but just feel like every day it's like you're running through sand? Or even worse, you're on a hamster wheel just chugging and chugging and chugging and getting nowhere? Do you want to know the keys that you need to be focusing on so that you can start seeing results instead of just wasted energy? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you the 4 essential keys to personal development to help you set yourself up for success and move beyond survival and into living the Thriver life. Welcome to Thrive Nation. Hey there, Thrivers, and welcome back to Thrive Nation. For those of you all who I haven't had a chance to meet yet, I'm Robert Heath Sr., the founder of Thrive Nation and the president of the Legacy Empowerment Academy companies. I believe that each one of us has greatness within us and that we're here for a reason. And I work to specifically facilitate the manifestation of that greatness for people all over the world. And this channel is designed to give you the tools that you need so that you can move beyond survival and begin living the Thriver life. And so today we're going to start off by talking about the 4 keys that can help you to develop yourself into whatever you need to be to live the life that you want to live. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you go ahead and give this video a like, click the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that bell over there in the corner. That'll make sure that you get notified every time I post a video each week on how you can thrive in chaos and live your best life ever. So the first key is that you have to take personal inventory. Oftentimes we have our big visions and we think about what we want to get done, but we're not paying attention to what we already have. So many times I see people that are working on trying to do things and they get discouraged before they ever begin because the journey seems so big. But there's a number of different cliches that are out there. I know you all have heard before, right? A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Or one of my personal favorites, the master at anything was once just a novice. But how do we implement that knowledge? How do we implement that wisdom into real life? Well, the first thing that we have to do is we have to be able to take inventory of who we are so that we can truly believe that we can accomplish the things that we want. And one of the tools that I have my students use to do this is what's called a SWOT analysis. Now, a SWOT analysis, SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And what you want to be able to do with a SWOT analysis is look at what are your strengths, what are the things that you're good at, what are the talents that you have that you can leverage towards your benefit. Each one of us has specific gifts, specific qualities that make us who we are, and specific things that we're good at. There's some people that music is just your thing. It just makes your heart sing. And certain people have perfect pitch. Certain people are just extremely creative. There are other people that are highly analytical or great with strategy, right? There's people that have an eye for beauty and they do well in photography and in film, right? There's certain people that are great public speakers. There's certain people that have a certain charisma. There's certain people that are really good at problem solving. Whatever your strengths are, it's important to know what those strengths are. Now, there's a number of different tools, and I'll put some links down in the comments or in the description below to one of my personal favorites, which is called Strength Finders. If you go and do a Strength Finders analysis, it actually helps you to understand some of the points about your personality that you might not have understood, and actually helps you to identify some strengths that you didn't realize were a strength and how you can use them and utilize them in your life. But that's one of the big things you want to pay attention to with the SWOT analysis is your strengths. The next thing you want to look at is your weaknesses. And weaknesses, you don't want to look at these as things that are wrong with you or things that are bad. You want to look at these as areas for improvement and areas for mitigation. Weaknesses can be improved over the long term, but one of the big pitfalls that people run into is trying to make a weakness into a strength. That's a long-term process. And so if you're not ready to be dedicated to that process, the thing that you want to look at is just mitigating that weakness, mitigating that area so that it can't negatively impact your strengths. So then we turn to the second 2 parts of a SWOT analysis, which is your opportunities and your threats. Now, opportunities are chances that you have to leverage your strengths to gain things that are important to you, right? These are opportunities to take advantage of those strengths that you have in the arena, whatever it may be. Like I said, if you have a strength at problem solving, then one of the things that you want to look at is what are the opportunities that you're going to have in the next 6 months, in the next year, to leverage that strength to actually do something beneficial, right? And similarly, now you want to look at threats are really about how are your weaknesses, how are the points that you're not so good at going to affect your opportunity to truly take advantage of those those situations, those opportunities that come up in your life. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Taking that personal inventory allows you to say, who am I? What am I good at? What am I capable of? And what things do I see coming for me in the future as far as positive possibilities, and what things do I see that I can mitigate as far as threats or negative possibilities. Now, the reason why you want to be able to look at who you are and you want to look back into your past, right? Because oftentimes a journey can look very difficult when we're just looking at it from the position of where we are to where we're trying to go. But when you can look at it from the perspective of where you've been to where you're trying to go, what you'll get to see is that you've actually done a tremendous amount, right? I remember when I was running the one and only marathon that I ever ran, one of the interesting things about training was as you got to do longer and longer training runs, shorter amounts of running didn't feel as bad. I remember when I got to the point where I was running 15, 16, 18 miles, a 5 mile run didn't seem very long. Even if it was at the end of 13 miles. If I was running an 18-mile day that day, I got to the end of 13 miles. That's a half a marathon. 5 miles didn't seem like I had a lot of time or a lot of running left to do. Even though when I first started training for the marathon, 5 miles was a super long run. What you have to understand is that by looking at what you've already accomplished, it gives you different perspective on what you have going forward. So the first key to personal development and to making sure that you're focusing on the right things is getting the right perspective by doing and taking a personal inventory of what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your opportunities, and what are your threats. For more on the SWOT analysis, I've got a link below to another video that I've done on SWOT analysis and to a free template that you can use so that you can do your own SWOT analysis. Now to key number 2. The next thing that we need to focus on is doing an alignment inventory. So often we're doing a lot of different things, but they're not necessarily all lined up. And so it can feel like you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off because everything that you're doing isn't moving you closer to your goals. So there's 4 things that you want to pay attention to in your alignment inventory. You want to pay attention to what's your purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? What are your goals? What are the things that you actually want to accomplish? How will you know when you've gotten there? You want to look at what are your obstacles, right? And we talked about this even in the SWOT analysis. What are the things that are going to be in your way? What are the threats to your success? And then lastly, you want to look at what are your areas for growth? How can you be better? Jim Rohn said it greatly, and I love this statement. He said, don't ask for life to be easier, ask for you to be better. And so these are the 4 things that you want to look at when you're doing an alignment inventory, so that you can make sure that you're not just spinning on that hamster wheel, but you're actually making sure that everything you're doing is leading to the next thing. So you want to go out to the furthest point. You want to start with the end in mind. This is one of the things that Stephen Covey said. Begin with the end in mind and then work your way back to start figuring out, is everything I'm doing in alignment? Are these things lining up? Can I see how this relates to the next thing that I need to do and the next thing? Because then you start being able to get what's called the domino effect, where the energy that you put into one thing allows you to do something else that's even greater, and allows you to do something else that's even greater, and you don't dissipate that energy. So that's step number 2, the alignment inventory. Now we get to the third key, which is the habit inventory. You know, Aristotle once said that we are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but rather a habit. And that's so powerful. There's so much of the brain that is focused on habit that most people don't even realize it. As a matter of fact, 40 to 50% of the decisions that you make in a day, you're not even aware of. So I want you to think about something. Did you think about which hand you were going to brush your teeth with this morning, or did it just happen? Have you ever driven to work and not even had to think about what route you were going to take or what you were going to do, or driven home and not remembered how you got there? That's the whole point. Habit allows us to do things unconsciously. And one of the things that you want to pay attention to in your life is, what do you have? Do you have good habits, or do you have bad habits? Do you have habits that are setting you up for success, or do you have habits that are making it more and more difficult for you to be successful? And the one thing that I want you to realize with habits in general is that we don't break habits. Once we've made a habit, it's there. But what we can do is we can replace it. We can make sure that even though that track is still there, the train always goes to a different set of tracks every time it gets to that juncture. And that's the work that you have to do with your habits. And I've got another video about how to hack habit down in the description below. where we go in depth with how you can implement and how you can change the habits that you have from habits that are detrimental to your growth to success habits. So that's key 3. You want to take a habit inventory and make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. And now we're at key number 4. And this is one of the most difficult ones for people that are trying to get off of that hamster wheel. And this is recognizing that you're human. We've got to learn to celebrate our wins and move from being perfectionists to what I like to term recovering perfectionists. So you got to understand that personal development is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not all going to happen in one day. And you've got to give yourself room and space to grow. See, so often we think that we're supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to get this stuff right. And everything that we do is supposed to turn into instant gratification. But nothing could be further from the truth. You've got to give yourself the space to be a scientist with yourself, to be able to iterate, to make mistakes, to try things and figure things out. Because over time, if you continue, you're going to get better. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the fact that if you can just improve 1% per day, you're not just going to grow 365%, which is what you would think in 365 days a year. You would actually grow 3,700% over the course of a year, just growing 1% a day. We don't have to make these big gargantuan moves. If you can just do a little bit every day and celebrate those wins, then you're going to be well on your way to developing and growing and reaching all of the goals that you want and moving beyond survival into the Thriver life. In his book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill told us that knowledge is not true power. Knowledge is only potential power. He said that applied knowledge is when you can actually realize the power. So tell me, how are you going to apply this knowledge that you've gained today? Which key resonates most with you? In the comments below, tell me how you're going to implement something that you learned in this video and how you're going to make it work for you so that you can get off of that hamster wheel and start living the Thriver life. So you can take this from an informational experience to a transformational one. And remember, if you want a copy of our SWOT analysis template, there's a link to it down in the description below. Click that link and it'll take you to get a copy of that, so it'll walk you step by step through how you can do your own personal inventory using a SWOT analysis down below. And that'll help you to go from surviving to thriving. So this concludes another episode of Thrive Nation. I want to thank you all for being here. Remember, if you heard something that you like, then go ahead, click that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button so that you can make sure that you never miss out on an episode. And also, if you want more information about how you can develop and harness the power of habit to use in your thriving journey, go ahead and watch my video on the daily habits of successful people. Talk to you soon.